Jesus. Fighting for traction in and around the corner. For $48,000, BMW can't even give you heated seats. Enjoy. Today we're taking a look at a 2023 BMW 330e. This is BMW's 3 Series plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and it is rear-wheel drive format. This gets about 22 miles electric range using a about 12 kilowatt hour battery pack. Also gets about 70 MPGe. I'll throw on the true numbers up on the screen. But this is kind of a base model. Not a lot of features in here. We do get the driver assistance package. I'll talk about that more. It starts about around $48,000. And for $48,000, BMW can't even give you heated seats. And I don't know if this is something to do with that subscription service that BMW was pushing, but I think that's we'll get that out in the open right now. But we do have a pretty nice looking interior, so we'll take a walk around, talk about the refresh with 2023 on the 3 Series. It is a little slick out today, so we won't be doing too much spirited driving in this rear-wheel drive. So new for 2023, BMW changed the front fascia a whole bunch. You can see they kind of turned the LEDs upside down, but this whole front bumper was redone. The headlights, the kidney beans, thankfully, are not oversized. They did kind of simplify the front diffuser because this is still a gasoline motor included, so you still need some cooling, but they kind of simplified that intake as well as the brake scoops for the intake air. We get the base wheels. These base wheels are 225/45 R18s in the front. Multi-spoke wheels. They look nice. We get electrified by eye. It's BMW's new electric mission and stuff to push towards zero emissions. Now, overall, looks like a normal 3 Series. Only differences you could tell is the blue ring around the BMW badge and the E330e, as well as the charge port up front. And in terms of the rear, BMW didn't really do too much to it in this refresh. I'm not the biggest fan of the 3 Series rear end in general, but I think it looks okay. It does kind of give it nice hip proportions, and you still get real exhaust in the rear. Let's check out the trunk while we're back here. Nice release. Now, because that 12 kilowatt hour battery has to go somewhere, you do get this hump. That's where the battery pack lives. But BMW was pretty clever. They gave you a adjustable load floor, which I had much easier time getting it. There we go. Getting it level, but you can see now you get a flat surface. You do lose that cargo space overall, but still very usable. Good loading floor. And then if you need that extra space, you can easily fold it down. Takes a little bit getting used to. No spare tire, I believe, under here. You do get run flats, so they don't include that. Some storage over there, it's nice. And you get some seat releases right here in the trunk. That's pretty nice. Grab handle, close. Overall, BMW has kept the 3 Series pretty unharmed compared to some of like the other cars, like the 4 Series, the 7 Series, and the 5 Series of recent. Check out the back seats after we fold down those seats. So we release it from the rear. So you don't get a level loading floor, but you do get the ability to fold down the rear seats. That's pretty nice. 5'10", ow. Sitting behind myself, hit my head a little bit getting in. But when you get back here, it's decently roomy. Sitting upright, I am just touching the headrest with the hat, but just a little scooching around. Plenty of space. Could definitely fit 4 passengers here, no problem. Material choice back here is okay. You do get some nicer red leather all around, which looks pretty sharp on this black contrast. Decent amount of storage. Not too much behind the seats. Do get your own vent control and climate zone, 2 USB-Cs. A large hump because this is a rear-wheel drive base platform, so you got the drivetrain pushing back here, as well as the transmission sitting there. We'll talk more about that as it is for the 330e. A very solid center armrest with cup holders. Yeah, very nice back here. We do get a moonroof. It's pretty sweet. More about this refreshed iDrive 8 interior, but obviously very impressive with the amount of screens and the minimalistic design. Not minimalistic Tesla, because you still get plenty more controls and buttons than they do. Like the store action, you can see a faint ambient LED lighting. So in terms of options, this is pretty base. We don't get the adaptive M suspension that is available. And because this is rear-wheel drive, I do think it could benefit a little bit from the M Sport differential, but that's only included in the M340i. We'll talk about that more, but there's a lot of torque going to those rear wheels. You'll see it in the night drive. It is $2,000 more for all-wheel drive. So let's check out the plug-in hybrid powertrain. Now, major players in this space, like Volvo, kind of go about things differently, so we'll talk about them in a bit. But essentially, this is a 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine mated to an electric motor. Now, electric motor actually sits in the transmission, sandwiched between, I believe, the drive shaft and the transmission itself. And it makes about 280 horsepower, 300, I believe, 11 pound-feet of torque from that 12 kilowatt-hour battery. You get about 22 miles electric-only range in ideal conditions, and 20 if it's all-wheel drive. This charges on level 1, which is like your standard house outlet, at 110 for 11.5 hours full charge, about 3.5 hours. Level 2, which is like a dryer plug or a charging station you can find maybe at an apartment complex. So it's a little bit slower on the charging side. And the interesting thing about this powertrain is because it's mated to, the motors are mated to the transmission, you do feel a little bit of shifting when you're driving in electric mode because it's working with the transmission. It's still a standard 8-speed, I believe, ZF that most BMWs use. Here's the charging port. So we'll talk more about the competitors. Volvo, S90, S60 are definitely the major players in the luxury sedan space because sedans are a dying breed. Audi has some plug-in hybrids, but for the most part, everything's SUV. So let's start this back up and talk about iDrive 8. So, beautiful, beautiful screens. This is like a 15 or 14.9 inch touchscreen. You get a 12.9 digital gauge cluster, very nicely integrated, but it's a little bit much. Got a ton of functionality here, ton of apps to look through. Interesting thing is there's not much in terms of what the electric vehicle portion is doing. You can set your charging mode, your departure plan, like if you want to only charge in certain times when you plug it in overnight, or if as soon as you plug it in. You can also set some eDrive zones so that it knows in certain urban areas, like for example around town, to be in electric mode only. But overall, I think it's a very impressive screen, just an overwhelming amount of tech. I do like that you can add some widgets to the screen. Climate control, so you do get vents, you do get a defrost rear and front button automatically, but everything is done in the touch screen. And as you can see, no heated seats. And then looking at the center gauge cluster, I actually think this is more impressive than this. So lots of configurability with this screen. If you click on this button here, you can adjust the center content, route preview, for example, trip data, map, G-meter, media, and then you can also go to the right and select your layout. You can also bring up Apple CarPlay, and for example, you want to go to this destination, go. If you want, it will bring it up here, and then you can also switch to the full navigation, and you get Apple CarPlay in the center screen. That's pretty sweet. So material choice, Looks very good. A little scratchy plastics down here, as well as over here, but very nicely put together. These buttons in the center are a little bit cheap, especially these climate buttons. Lots of give and flex with those. The seat material is excellent though. Power adjustment all around. You get extending thigh cushions, or crumb collectors as they're called, some lumbar support in 4 ways. There's also faint ambient lighting. You get this kind of plastic covered wood, softer materials up top. We don't get the M Sport steering wheel in this variant, but it is available, so we're stuck with the standard BMW wheel. In terms of driver assistance, I'll read it out from here. But we do get, in the driving assistance package, you get blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning, and rear and front parking sensors all set through here. There's also forward collision warning and mitigation. Adaptive cruise control is another available option. BMW likes to nickel and dime the options. Lastly, looking down here, you can control the infotainment with this scroll wheel. You can also switch between your map and your media depending on what is available, and it'll actually allow you to go to native Spotify or Apple CarPlay. I don't have anything playing. So lots of configurability with here. I do like that you have the touchscreen and the scroll wheel within reach. It's a little bit complicated. You might fly off the road trying to figure it out initially. Now down here, traction control, parking sensors. These buttons, I don't know if the owner dropped coffee on here, but they're very chintzy and crackly and it's gross. Rear view camera, turns up the lines. You got those front and rear parking sensors as I mentioned. Drive modes, let's talk about this. So I'm in hybrid right now. Looking in the center gauge, you're speed limited because the electric motor can only provide X amount of power. And then you can push all the way down, not to the kickdown switch, which is essentially just like a point beyond the pedal. You'll feel a button. But you can push all the way up to here and it'll say in electric mode. It's very usable. It's got good torque, good power to get you up to speed and around town. I had no problems there. And then when you switch over to electric, it's the same thing, just a little bit different of a screen. But it'll keep you in electric as much as it can. You can also set the battery to hold, which, if the button works, there we go, it'll reduce that blue zone to preserve the battery. We have 17 miles of battery, and right now it's saying 17 miles in blue because we are on battery. I'll show you later when we go into hybrid. When the engine kicks on, it turns white. I've always liked that BMW seats give you a little bit of a tug before you set off. So it is raining out, but there's a little bit of a spaceship-y sound. Very faint to let you know you're driving in electric and to let pedestrians know you're driving in complete silence. Healthy amount of torque from that electric motor only. Can get you up to speed and around town, no problem. You can definitely do some passes at like the 30 to 50 miles per hour, no problem. On the highway, it does fall on its face a little bit in electric mode only. When you get everything working together, that combined 280 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque, this thing is pretty swift. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk about the steering wheel, but you do have your basic cruise control settings on the right, and on the left you have your infotainment controls, volume, phone call, and this button to adjust the settings of the display, and as well as to go between different media modes. I like the sound of that BMW turn signal. And as you're going along, you can feel the transmission shifting especially from first to second, second to third. It's a cool sensation because it feels very natural. Off throttle, you get a little bit of regen from the electric motors spinning the opposite direction. Slows down the vehicle, charges the battery. The brake pedal is, I don't know, I turn on my signal. I'm not a big fan of this brake pedal. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it feels like an on-off switch. I couldn't really master slowing to a nice, easy stop. Nice. A little greasy out. I'm gonna keep the, excuse me. I hit BMW assistant. A little greasy out, definitely gonna keep traction control on when I can, but that was pretty fun. Let's do a little bit of dig in electric. Hopefully I don't spin out the tires. Ready, go. You can hear the whir, the futuristic whir of those electric motors. It's very competent. I'm surprised. I haven't driven many plug-in hybrids, but I'm very surprised by the power this can put down in electric mode only. Whoa, definitely don't want to spin out again, but I kind of do. Oh, this rear-wheel drive and BMW handling is pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie, and to be entirely in electric mode, pretty fun. Ride quality and the non-adaptive suspension, just the standard suspension, the 18-inch wheels, it's pretty good. It's just the right amount of soft and springiness I would like, but you also get some of that road texture. The steering feel is a little bit artificial. That's just a known BMW problem, but the handling of this chassis, the 3 Series chassis, has definitely been very well dialed in. All right, let's switch over to just sport mode. And we'll just do a slow, nothing crazy acceleration. While we're here, visibility excellent, plenty of space to look and see. These pillars are a good size. I can definitely see out of all my blind spots. The hood is definitely long and protruding, but I am sitting pretty low because that's just comfortable for me in this car. Do have auto brake hold on. The beauty of electric motors is the instant torque makes the car feel way faster than the numbers would say. You can shift in manual mode. Very responsive ZF 8-speed. And I like that it says extra boost because it's everything going in full bore. It's very nice. All right, let's try not to die here. I'm keeping the nannies on because it is pretty slick out, and we're in a rear-wheel drive car with a decent amount of torque. But this is a very playful chassis and a pretty playful transmission, or powertrain. Jesus. Fighting for traction in and around the corner. Definitely felt traction control cutting power a little bit, but honestly, I'm fine with it. I did not want to go any more sideways than necessary. All right, while we're here, we'll go back to electric. Quiet things down a little bit. So let's talk about the competition. There's not a ton of it. Sedans are dying. Get this guy some space. Between the BMW and the Volvo, The Volvo has twice the electric only range and capability. But from a driving perspective, this is just way more fun. As I threw it into hybrid mode. Oh my gosh. I want to be able to hit electric only, but this has way more playful chassis dynamics than that Volvo. That Volvo just plows through corners. I would know I owned a regular T6 Volvo with the Super and turbocharger. It's not a fun chassis, but in a line, it was very fast. It's very comfortable. It's actually a little bit bigger on the inside because it is a transverse engine. I don't know the pricing difference, but I would assume the BMW might be about on par with the Volvo, but you can definitely get carried away in options in the Volvo. All right, merge onto the highway, full electric mode. So I think it really comes down to personal preference between the BMW and the Volvo. Better dynamics and driving focus in this car, but not as capable an electric vehicle. The Volvo, more comfort, more focus, beautiful interior. I wouldn't say it's any more usable between Android Automotive and iDrive 8. But then it's also just a stealth wealth. Volvo is just a nice looking brand that kind of flies under the radar and stuff. So if you're looking more for a plug-in hybrid luxury cruiser that does it the best and has a little bit more of a electric vehicle feel, Toyota hybrid system feel, where it's like a full all-wheel drive, I would get the Volvo. But if you're looking for a little bit, you know, just more efficient cruiser that has plenty of power and maybe has a BMW badge, I would go for the 330e. On the highway, no wind noise, a little bit of tire noise. These are run flats, but just an excellent cruiser on the highway. Very well planted. The extra weight from the battery definitely keeps this chassis under control. I gotta say, driving this really makes me want to drive an M340i and even a 330i. This 3 Series chassis is unbelievable, and it's really making me look at that Audi S4 and be like, why can't you be more fun, Audi? The suspension is well sorted. It still feels very comfortable. This car is very efficient, even in hybrid mode. The tech is, I would go like last generation BMW. Other than that brake feel on this plug-in hybrid, this is an excellent all-arounder. If you live in the city, you're looking for a BMW badge, you're looking for a hybrid because you do a lot of stop and go, get the 330e for sure. If you're driving along the highway, you don't really do a lot of stop and go, or, you know, maybe it's 25% of the time, get the 330i. It's plenty of power, pretty on par with this in terms of 0 to 60. The torque might be a little bit different because it's just not as instant, but the 330i can get close to 40 MPGe, and that's just a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo, just because BMW has some magic on the highway. Everything's designed for the Autobahn. I think this is a fully capable plug-in hybrid to get a very usable amount of electric range for your commute. You're not going to be able to do a full 15-mile commute on average in the US in this car, but you're going to get pretty close to it, and then you're just going to have a very efficient hybrid that's pretty fun and playful. Maybe swing for the all-wheel drive so you don't burn out like I do. Cutting a little bit of power around the corner. So with that being said, hope everyone enjoyed the video. Woohoo! Give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.